Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of Unwind with Dan. Counselling is the practice of talking through any problems or negativity you face. It helps put into perspective problems you're going through. Many people these days, normally the ones who label themselves as alpha male or red pill or those who want to break out of the matrix, tend to not believe in mental health, let alone counselling to try and fix it. This is especially seen in those who preach about these somewhat dangerous stoic mindsets online. But don't worry, I'm not here to preach about why counselling is good for us either. In fact, for some people, counselling actually won't be beneficial at all, but we'll discuss that later. No, today I'm here to hopefully open your mind, if it isn't already, to the possible benefits this practice can offer. And if you're already an advocate, then this can be seen as something to reassure you that there is actual good reason to support this practice. For those whom counselling can benefit, why does it help us? Counselling provides a professional space to explore and solve personal issues, express yourself and foster growth. If there's a specific problem, like confronting a fear, counsellors work with you to create actionable plans to reach your desired outcome. For mental distress not linked to serious mental health conditions, they offer holistic approaches such as meditation or advising on social activities to help improve your well-being and overall mental health. Furthermore, from being able to talk about your issues, it grants us a greater ability to be self-aware. As mentioned in the last episode, this leads to greater ability to notice our own issues, to help change them, and notice times in our lives when we should be grateful or happy. This hopefully allows us to build a stronger mental foundation on which we wouldn't need to have counselling in the future. Not only does counselling help our own problems, but it can help us fix any issues with other people. Counselling improves our ability to communicate, whether it be issues in family, platonic or romantic relationships. Being able to converse more effectively allows for less miscommunication, clearer dialogue, and hopefully less conversations where animosity ensues. Counselling helps us with this because counsellors allow us to talk freely about ourselves without judgment, which in turn gives us more practice communicating our feelings and getting our messages across. Talking more clearly directly reduces the chances of us being misunderstood. It reduces the chances of us hopefully being judged. It increases our chances of being heard, hopefully allowing us to talk through any issues, but similarly allowing us to praise and show gratitude to our loved ones when they do something we do appreciate. This practice of recognizing and verbalizing both concerns and gratitude is similar to the self-awareness we develop in counselling, but instead it focuses outwardly on others, fostering deeper and more compassionate connections. Whilst theoretically it is all well and good to talk about the proposed benefits of counselling, I can do one better. While searching for more concrete evidence, I found that the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy reviewed 29 papers after scouring through over 3,000, and they came to the conclusion that counselling was significantly beneficial to most of the participants in the short term. Long-term research admittedly is still needing to be confirmed, but as I will discuss later, there are situations where counselling isn't necessarily the right practice to choose anyway. these being linked to more long-term issues. Whilst I won't go into any more detail of this review here, if you do wish to read up more about it, the link to the review will be in my references. If there is still some skepticism in your mind, then I think a good comparison to help reduce it is with the practice of physiotherapy. You may be fully functional and able to go about your activities of life, but there is some pain in your back. You could just try and ignore it, or you could try and do something about it. I'm sure a lot of you could eventually try physio. They will see you, give you a consultation and provide exercises and advice on how to deal with your pain. Counselling is this exact concept, except for mental anguish instead. If there's some part of your psyche you're not a fan of, you can use a counselling service to talk about it and come up with methods to change that part of you. Or instead, if it's to do with something you can't change, like the past, they may help you to come to terms with this instead, help you learn to accept it and move on. Many years ago, when I was doing my GCSEs, still in this phase of not appreciating the importance of mental health, I realised I was feeling a lot more empty than I used to because I was trying to ignore these worries inside. Some of my friends, my very good friends, noticed this and recommended me the service of the school counsellor. I was also skeptical at first, but then ended up bawling my eyes out within the first 5 minutes. It was strange. It was like this, just the ability to let out every word of my mind without any fear of judgment, just finally led to me being able to lift this monumental weight off my shoulders. In future sessions, I never even needed to cry again. Instead, we just went through exercises to help keep my mind from getting to that point in the future. We went through breathing, mindful, and meditative practices, which I won't discuss here, but I certainly use a lot of them still to this day. Throughout university, I've also made use of the counselling services provided. Going through some tough months, being able to use them to help rationalise my thoughts and feelings really helped me. The extra perspective, void of any judgment, allowed for such freedom of conversation. After a while, even when I was better, I still made use of the remaining sessions to just gain a new viewpoint on small challenges I was facing, or on small wins happening in my life. Counselling for me was both a way to stop my mind spiralling into negativity, but also a way to show greater gratitude towards small, sometimes ignored positive moments in my life. Like physiotherapy, it helped me get back to a healthy mental baseline and strengthen it to prevent future relapse. However, whilst from my own experiences, it is quite obvious why I would recommend giving counselling a go. There are reasons and situations when it potentially is not the correct choice. Some serious mental health conditions like generalized anxiety disorder or depression will often require greater treatment. These can range from prescribed drugs to cognitive behavioral therapy. There will be websites in the description with more information on the off chance you think this could apply to you, as well as a link to the NHS's website for urgent mental health issues. Another point I want to make is, since counselling requires interactions with a counsellor, sometimes it won't work out simply because they're not a correct fit. If you do end up going to counselling and after several sessions you don't see much improvement, potentially it's a sign they're not the right counsellor for you. If this keeps happening, maybe counselling isn't right for you at all. Potentially a different practice or management is what you need. Going to your GP can help figure that out. However, arguably, one of the most important factors to whether counselling would be effective is an open mind. If one goes to counselling more because others pressured them to do so, and less because of a genuine desire to try it, then no wonder it would unlikely work. Whilst counsellors do try their best to make people feel open to express themselves, in the end, if you are in potential need of counselling, but are very skeptical of its techniques, then maybe the best thing first would be to read up about its efficacy, because maybe counselling isn't even actually for you. Maybe a different method suits you better. Everyone is different. I believe it's all about just keeping an open enough mind to find out for yourself what truly works for you. The reason I made this is I think many people, including my past self, underappreciate the practice of counselling. Whilst it's certainly not for everyone or every situation, it definitely has its place. And I think if you do have any mental qualms, it's certainly worth a read up on at the very least. And that brings us to the end. Like always, there'll be some references and other websites in the description, as well as my piano notes. If you made it to the end, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope you have an amazing day, and thank you for listening to Unwind with Dan.